Let's look at an introduction to factoring by grouping. We can use factoring by grouping when we have four terms with no common factor. If we did have a common factor among the four terms, we would want to factor that out first. So the terms are then split into groups of two, or pairs, and the greatest common factor is factored out of each pair. If there is a common binomial term in each pair, then factoring by grouping can be applied. So for example, 12x squared minus 18x plus 2x minus 3. Okay, so if we look at those four terms, we have no greatest common factor of all four of them. So the first thing we want to do is split the four terms into two pairs of terms. So I've got two terms and two terms. So group them into pairs. Then we'll look at the first pair and look for our greatest common factor. So I have 12x squared and 18x. So 12 and 18, my greatest common factor is 6. X squared and x, my greatest common factor is x. So my greatest common factor overall of that first pair is 6x. And then when I divide that out of 12x squared and minus 18x, I'm left with 2x minus 3. So now let's look at the second pair, 2x minus 3. So if I'm looking at those two terms, there is no obvious greatest common factor. And when that's true, remember 1 is a common factor of everything. So here my common factor is 1. And if I divide 2x by 1, I'm left with 2x. And if I divide negative 3 by 1, I still have negative 3. So factor out the greatest common factor from each pair. Now, one note that the sign of that second greatest common factor, in this case it was 1, is going to be the same sign of that third term. So here that third term is positive, so our greatest common factor in that second pair is positive. If our third term had been negative, our second greatest common factor, we would have factored out a negative, and our greatest common factor would have been a negative. Okay, so notice we do have our common binomial term here. We have 2x minus 3 in both of our groupings. So now we'll factor that out. So I have 2x minus 3 being pulled out. When I factor that out of the first term, I'm left with 6x. When I factor it out of the second grouping, I'm left with plus 1. So we factored out the common binomial term. So our result from factoring by grouping is that 12x squared minus 18x plus 2x minus 3 factors to 2x minus 3 times 6x plus 1.